Welcome to Shrouded Realities. I am Jadoti.
I am Kadoni.
And I am Stadoti.
And Radoti, the podcast dog, is here with us. We are Shrouded Realities. Adoti, can you do that?
We are Shrouded Realities.
That was solid. That was great.
Today's episode is going to be a fun one. Quick disclaimer, we're 100% idiots.
Yep.
Don't take us serious.
We have tinfoil hats on our head
We
for
have
real.
tinfoil hats
If you're
on
just
our
listening
head.
to the audio, you're really missing out on this
Go
one.
check out the YouTube channel when this comes out. It'll be worth it. Yeah, we're talking, cause the reason we've got tinfoil hats on, we're talking about Heaven's Gate, the cult, and all the things that are shrouded in the Heaven's Gate cult, which isn't many because they're not here. All their good stuff is put out on the internet for us to find. But when they did the deed at the end of their reign, they were shrouded in shrouds.
They were definitely shrouded in shrouds.
Which makes this a perfect episode for Shrouded Realities podcast.
That's right.
But yeah, so for the youngins in the group, Heaven's Gate cult was a cult in the 90s that was started by Marshall Applewhite and a lady named Bonnie Nettles that thought that we are all aliens trapped in human bodies that will be ascended if you're the right type of person to go live in, not heaven, but in a spaceship.
In a spaceship.
On the next level.
When Jesus was resurrected, he left in a spaceship, according to them, which can't find that biblically anywhere, but
No.
that's their claim.
Mr. Applewhite was kind of, he was using the words chariot of fire and light in the sky and stuff like that.
Yeah, they use Christianity a lot.
Yeah.
In there.
Well,
That's his background.
they use the book of Revelation a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Probably slightly misinterpreted.
Yeah.
Pretty much everything.
Yeah, pretty much all of it.
They read Revelation, was like, that's me. I'm the witness.
Actually, yep, that's exactly what happened.
Yeah, they said they're the two witnesses in Revelation.
Why is it always like that? People always reading Revelations like, oh my gosh, that's me. Oh, this is my moment.
And the way they messed up, too, is they said, this is us. We're going to be martyred in the streets, and we're going to ascend to heaven.
Yeah, but then they even had to twist that. They were like,
because
one of
we're
going to be murdered in the media.
Yeah.
They're going to murder us in the media, not physically murdered us. We didn't mean that.
So when the leader that said, I'm the prophet,
Yeah,
died normally
exactly.
from cancer.
Well, yes. But she had to go work on her spaceship.
So
You think regular mechanics are bad, dude?
it was the Kia-
space mechanics takes forever.
It was the Kia Forte of bodies, so it was going down.
That's right.
Applewhite had a Toyota, so he was able to keep going.
Yeah, he was able to keep
he
running.
kept trucking until he drank
And why I'm saying that is because
he drank the vodka.
they called their bodies vehicles. So
They did.
So-
yes, they did.
They did.
my vehicle.
My vehicle will take me to the spaceship that's hiding behind the Hellbob comic.
So let's back it up. This actually started like in the 70s?
Yeah.
I think less than that.
72 is when they met.
It was, I was trying to say when the first...
I'm taking this off.
Yeah, it's hot.
Yeah, tinfoil hats aren't made for the
This was
for the long run.
It's just a gimmick.
Yeah, tinfoil
Sorry.
hats aren't made for the long run. Let's lose the tinfoil hats real quick. Meep, meep.
oh, sweaty head.
Made for a fun intro, but now my head's sweaty and it's gross.
Yeah, that was sorry, I muted Joey's mic halfway through that, so you got some weird audio in there. But
I don't think anybody listening to this show is going to think that we're professional, so I think it'll be
you're
okay.
probably accurate on
Considering we
It's
started
okay.
out with the tinfoil hats, I think.
Yes.
that. Yeah, that needs to become a set piece now.
Yep.
I think that I
First
think our
prop.
tinfoil hats have officially become the set
Graduated.
piece.
Background
Yep.
set piece, cool. I like it.
People later in the future, which is great because that's kind of what we're talking about right now. Is people thinking about this stuff? This will be auctioned for millions of dollars. Y'all just
Yes.
watch out.
Michael Jackson of gloves here.
Radoti didn't like her. She kicked it off pretty
Yeah,
quick.
Radoti was not a fan. She's still over there a little bit mad. I think.
That alien trapped in her body. She's like, no. No.
Yeah, so Applewhite, back in his day, grew up as a son of a pastor.
Yep, Presbyterian.
Presbyterian pastor. He tries to go to seminary, tries to be a pastor himself, but it didn't work out because he had a.
Well, he did reach pastor status.
He did?
He did.
Oh, that's right, he
but there's following things that happened that kicked him out.
What was the following things, Connor?
Just some man love.
Just a little bit of man
Tell us
love.
the thing in the Bible says you can't do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's discuss that.
Yeah, so that got him out. Got him. He started becoming a music teacher. He still wanted to be famous. He was a decent actor. They said had
I
good
heard he was a
stage
decent
presence.
singer too.
He
Good
was
singer.
yeah, I'd heard he was a fantastic
Yep.
opera singer type.
Yep.
Yeah,
So
he was really good.
he jumped around from job to job trying to be a music teacher and trying to make it
while
famous.
battling his inner love life. That
Yeah.
was kind of a main arc in this story is his
Yeah.
inability or
Which typically for a soon-to-be cult leader, that is a bad sign.
yeah.
I got to give him credit though. He resisted
Absolutely.
it.
No, I'll give him that. Because,
resisted
I mean, if you look at any other cult, where does it all lead? To just sex and power.
Sex
That's
and
it.
power and money.
And this was like the opposite of
They
that.
didn't do any of that.
And it was kind of weird.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, there's a book called The Heaven's Gate, The Cult of Cults. I got to disagree with the title of the name. I don't think they're the cult of cults
okay.
because of that reason.
It doesn't
Almost
check
all
that box.
cults. Yeah, most all cults are power.
You got one
Mind
guy
control.
in control of every
Every
bunch
hole.
of people.
Give me all your money. Give me all your ladies.
And that doesn't seem like that was like what this was at all. I mean, he would even give people like, if you want to leave, go for it. Like,
Yeah.
and he was serious.
Yeah.
He would.
And they
Let
said it
people
made
go.
they said it made the cult better when people left,
Yeah.
They refined it.
which was
They there at one point I heard they had over 200 people in the cult.
good.
And they were like, yeah, that's too many.
So
Yeah.
they started
Like,
weeding out
they
the
just
weeks.
started weeding out people. Which what
Well,
cult
this
does
was
that?
this was in the 70s too.
Yeah, 70s, 80s. They were like, yeah, we got too many
Yeah.
people in this. We need to drop
I'm
our
actually
numbers down.
surprised that there wasn't that many people. You know, for what they were saying because they were kind of like a modified Christianity
Yeah.
subgroup, and then they had this Star Trek, Star Wars type theme to it, and that was like popping in the 70s.
Yeah.
You know that
Yeah.
that sci-fi.
Yeah.
I'm surprised it didn't suck more people in, especially with people like practicing drug use and all that.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, they did say the people that did come in early, it was easy for them to come in. Like there wasn't a big long recruitment process. It
Yeah,
was like
Not at all.
you're in.
yeah, it's like they talk like, dude, I want to fly in a spaceship. I think we could go to heaven in a spaceship. Boom, I'm in. And then they stayed. They never left. Well, except for the ones that
I mean, there were some people that eventually were like, all right, this is a little weird.
Yeah.
it's a little kooky.
But what was really crazy is the level of intelligence that a lot of these people had
Yeah,
that were actually in the cult.
Yeah.
I mean,
and
that stayed.
And I think intelligence is almost like a double-edged sword. You know, when you reach a certain level of intelligence, it's almost like it hurts you.
Yeah, I agree.
It almost
You've
it
got-
blinds a certain part of you.
You've got certain book smarts, but no street smarts at
Yeah.
all. Like
Yeah.
it's your common sense isn't there
Like
because
you
have
like
everything
way
else.
overthink it, which then you just make it. Once you overthink it, it makes sense. I guess I don't know.
I
You
don't know.
turn yourself in circles.
Yeah.
Yeah. From what I understand too, they were they were already looking for a religion.
Yeah.
And they were already like a little bit Christianity, but they like spaceships, they like sci-fi.
Well, they use the lingo of Christianity in a lot of the ways they said things. I mean, they used the Bible a lot.
Yeah, I mean,
and
with-
they would reference the Bible, but it was just not correct.
With Applewood being, a pastor, he knew the way to talk. I mean, he went to school for it. He knew how to do it.
Yeah, I mean, he was
Applewood or Applewhite?
White.
you go.
Freudian slip right there.
old Applewood. Yeah, we'll find out about old Applewood later.
Applewood.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he met a chick, Bonnie Nettles, in the 70s, that was getting ready to divorce her husband.
Mm-hmm. She was actually before the divorce. She was actually like starting to do like seances and
She was
Yeah.
getting
trying to
into
talk to the
occult-
dead.
like occult practices and stuff like that.
Yeah.
big
She was
time.
an astrologist. Is that the right word?
Yeah.
Not astrologist.
Well, I mean, looking in the stars. Yeah.
Yeah, like using their star chart. And that was they said that was the genesis of it, was he asked for her to read his star chart. I don't know what that is.
I don't either.
But
Yeah,
she
sounds like
apparently she
crystal
read
stuff,
it
I don't
pretty,
know.
apparently she read it pretty awesome, and there was like just
She saw his future basically and said
something's up with him.
that this guy is the guy that's going to bring everybody up in the spaceship.
Yeah.
And he was like, you know what? You're
I
probably
like
right.
that idea.
I think I would be that guy.
Yeah.
And
he was already having some psychosis, mental problems anyway.
well, their meeting is still up in the air. Nobody really knows how they met. Some people say it was because of a heart problem. Some people say they met in a some kind of play.
Because she was a nurse, wasn't she?
Yeah, she was a nurse. So I mean, heart problem, mental breakdown that he had. So we don't really know what their meeting looked like originally.
She heard him like in one of those like when they used to like put blankets up around the beds and stuff. He just heard him like, I'm God, I'm Jesus, I'm God, I'm Jesus. She's like, this guy makes total sense. I'm joining this guy.
Spaceship.
But this guy didn't come across that way. He didn't come across as that kind of crazy.
No.
I mean, he was crazy, but not that type of crazy.
Yeah. Like
He was able to persuade other people into making them think that he was this guy.
Yeah, he's writing books, writing theses, writing papers.
I mean, Lord of the Rings top stuff.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
to be a cult leader, you got to be a good liar. You got to be able to think on the fly of like, well, yeah, that doesn't make sense. You're right. Well, here's another lie. Let me make that up.
Well, from what I heard, when he was first doing their first recruiting, when they first thought that they had the way, quote unquote, their quotes, the way, they would go give presentations in public and invite the public in to
like
do
little
it.
town halls almost.
Yeah, and
And they weren't getting much reception though.
they wasn't. They got some. That's how they kind of got started, but it wasn't a whole lot. And he finally, he used to do town hall type stuff, and he had to quit because people was calling BS on him. And a lot of people like us would go and make fun of him while he's.
I wonder why.
Yeah, start heckling him.
That's shocking.
spaceships out there.
That is
alone.
Come wearing their
shocking.
tinfoil hats into the meeting. But so I mean, I don't know how they got people, but they did.
Well, in the 70s, I'm looking at it right here. The group attracts hundreds of followers. So I mean, still hundreds of people.
Hundreds.
That's a
You had a
good
lot of
number.
you had a lot of nomads though from trailing off the 60s, you know, the sex power and drugs movement, you know, you had a lot of nomads.
Well, and their group for an extended period of time were nomads. They were just going to like campground to campground. They weren't.
Yeah, they had to live out.
I mean, y'all saw where he got arrested
yeah, for stealing a rental
for
car.
stealing a rental car.
That was a
hear
spaceship.
Yeah, he went to jail for like 6 months. Did y'all hear what he told the cops? God told him he could do it.
That's a good
They
sign.
didn't let him go.
Yeah, it's crazy, right?
That's so weird.
And the 70s was the Manson time too, wasn't it?
Well, they were trying to tie him to that. They were trying to tie a bunch of people to because cults were kind of a thing at that point.
That was the
I mean,
year of
cults
the
are a
decade
thing.
of the cults right
Cults
there.
are a thing now. Let's be honest.
But that was like a boom of it.
It was a big rush of it at that
I
point.
think it was all the LSD people were dropping, which connects back to the CIA.
Well,
but-
we've got there was some other tie-ins there.
people were just like,
Did you just tie back into episode 7?
maybe
Yeah.
I did.
Nice, good job. I like that. So yeah, maybe the LSD just kind of
It opened people's minds,
It did.
and they were looking for God,
To looking
And
for
then
space Jesus.
space.
and there he was in a short, bald-headed white guy named Applewhite
Applewood.
Some weird eyes.
with some crazy eyes.
Yep.
Crazy eyes.
The champion staring contest.
Yeah,
But
they
they
could do that because that dude never blinked.
Never blink.
Can we start using their cult names?
Yes.
Doe and T was their cult names.
Well,
and they
The
started
last one.
out as Bo and Peep.
they were Bo and Peep.
What was the other one?
Wasn't it Guinea and Pig
Guinea
or
and
something?
Pig,
Which is
yeah.
like that's the worst.
So come on, y'all. If somebody walks up to you and says, "Here's my new leader," his name is Bo,
Bo and Peep.
and here's his partner Peep.
Yep, red flag. First red flag right there.
Yeah, first of many red flags.
Yeah.
If the first, let's go to a spaceship didn't trick you
Yeah,
enough.
that was.
Good night. Take us anyway. I just don't understand how people fall for this stuff.
That's kind of what I was getting at with the smart people is, I think everybody thinks I wouldn't get caught up in that. That sounds nuts. But I think if you're looking for something,
Yeah.
I mean, as many cults as there have been, and I mean, I think we're probably at some point going to get into the Jim Jones and some of that. There was a lot of wealthy people, smart people, lawyers, doctors that just ended up in these cults because this guy tricked them.
They're just looking for
They're
something.
looking for something, and then they see somebody do all these miraculous things in quotations if you're just listening. But he was doing healings and all this kind of stuff,
Yeah.
and people are like, well, yeah, maybe this is a god,
Yeah.
you know. So it's crazy how smart people get sucked into these situations. To me,
So full disclosure, I'm an idiot.
yeah. So
Self-proclaimed
we're good.
idiot. We're all three idiots. But
So we're good. We're not going to fall for cults. We're all idiots.
hey, I gotta say, I almost did.
Oh, okay.
Almost did.
Which one?
I'm not. Yeah, we'll save it for another podcast.
Okay.
But yeah, it was
It was
close. I went to a meeting. Let's say that.
Okay.
And yeah, it was.
It was close.
I sniffed it out pretty quick.
Yeah.
Pretty
Okay.
quick. They were saying just enough stuff that was close enough to my personal beliefs that I was like, let's check this
I think
out.
that's how this was too. Is like it
Yeah.
was just close enough, but then it had an extra twist on it that made it more interesting.
Yeah.
You know,
And
people in
then-
the stuff are like, "Oh, Christianity's boring. Been hearing this forever.
Yeah.
Ooh, space Jesus, I'm on it."
Yeah, exactly. I think that's right.
So that had to have been it. But and they had the staying power too. Everybody in the cult stayed for 15, 20 years. Until,
Yeah, some people that left came back after a few years.
yeah.
It was crazy.
Yeah.
They would leave and be like, you know what? I'm gonna go back to that.
Yeah, and from what I've heard, this is part of the shrouded reality part is that they're still out there, still believing, doing their thing.
Which would suck if you're that guy because
You're left
until
behind.
the Earth's re-recycled,
what they said,
according to Applewhite, until it's re-recycled, guess what? You're just here.
Yeah.
And if you die, well,
If I see a
sucks.
giant green bin coming from the sky, I'll know it.
I had
Get it?
seen-
Recycling?
They were right. I should have went in 1997. Son of a gun.
Get it recycled.
Recycled.
I get it.
Okay.
I get it.
I wanted it.
Or Recyclops over here.
Cyclops.
Saturday Night Live did a skit with Will Ferrell that played Applewhite
I bet that was great.
Really?
post suicide.
This couldn't have been much longer after that.
No, it
No,
was right after.
yeah, there was
There
all
was a
kinds of
lot.
jokes.
Everybody was wearing
Yeah.
this cult
Yeah.
out right after.
But he played Doe / Applewhite in a spaceship. Say it, see, I told you. And like the big joke of it was the guy interviewing him said, "Is there any part of this that you regret?" And he said, "Yeah, the castration thing. I was
Yeah.
wrong about that." We'll get to that in a minute.
Yeah,
but,
we'll get there.
So we're in the 80s now. I think they run pretty good without any like much coverage. I guess they were just kind of operating
Yeah.
for like 10, 15 years.
And from what I understood too, at that time, Applewhite Doe, he wasn't the leader.
It was
Bonnie Nettles.
Bonnie
T
Nettles
was the leader.
I think she was probably more the brainchild of the whole thing.
Yeah,
He was just he was the
voice.
face.
Yeah.
He was the face
Yeah.
of it, which is, man, if that's your face, oof. But I mean, I think he presented really well to most people, but coming from being a teacher and knowing how to influence people in that way, I think he probably did present pretty well
yeah,
if you were already kind of bent to that. But
yeah. So she was T. Nettles was in the background pulling the strings, and he was the puppet doing the dance.
yeah,
And part like we mentioned earlier, part of their belief was they were the prophets in Revelation, that they were going to be.
which that came later though. That wasn't like right out the gate. That
Nah,
came,
they were making stuff up on the fly.
yeah,
pretty-
on the fly.
pretty hard.
Yeah, they were definitely shooting from the hip for a little bit, and then they had to figure out how to do some damage control, I believe, and was like, well, it's because Jesus, I have his brain. Yeah, I mean, y'all heard that. I've got the brain of Jesus,
Yeah.
and I was like, golly, man, this guy.
Because they were saying that they were not gonna die until the end, right?
Yeah.
T and Doe were like,
Well,
they
until
were,
the spaceship got there.
right.
Yeah. And then, spoiler alert, T gets cancer and
Just
dies.
riddled.
So
She
yeah.
loses an eye before that
Yeah.
too. So
Yeah.
I mean, she's
That
going
almost
through
it
it.
almost seems like symbolic. I would think.
Yeah.
I guess so. And then the cancer just got metastasized, I think is the word for it, and it spread through her body, and then she ended up dying. And that just shock waves through the whole cult. They were like, she's not supposed to die this way. She told us that she was going to die this other way.
Yeah.
And then she didn't.
Mm-hmm.
So Applewhite had to go into
Damage control on
damage
that.
control. They said he went dark for a few weeks, maybe.
Yeah. I think it really did mess him up because just from hearing their personal story, I mean, they were
Pretty close.
really close.
They weren't together, but they were.
They were never together, and that was acknowledged by every source that I saw that they were
weren't
not romantic at all.
Mhm.
Which yet again is really weird. That's the way that all worked out. If you're in a cult, that's just not typical. If you don't know anything about cults, this is weird for cults.
Yeah.
But he said that she was the father referencing Holy Father.
God.
Yeah, God.
Yep.
And he was the son, and that's later in their cult life.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, he acknowledges her as the father, and we're all going to go up and meet the father, and
The
she
kingdom
was
of
going
heaven.
to, yeah, she was going to be driving the spaceship,
Mhm.
which is like, golly.
I mean, that's. I mean, never mind.
Don't make a woman joke. Golly.
Always stopping and asking for directions. Don't know
There
how
it
to get
is.
there.
We tried to move on. and you brought it
Good
Yeah,
back.
thing there's
I mean-
no curbs in space.
Come
I'm
on.
right. Road rash all over those wheels, man.
That's right. She puts the T in total.
And T in total.
Because her name's
That's why it took her till 97 to get here, man.
Yep.
Anyway,
Yeah.
in the 80s, group had about 80 followers. Most of them were either car mechanics or some kind of computer scientist or something like that.
Really? I didn't hear
Yeah.
that.
Yep. I didn't realize they were car mechanics either, but yeah.
That's this room.
Yeah, that's it. That's kind of this room right here. But
Prime candidates.
yeah, we're set up perfect. I'm a big Star Wars fan, so
Uh-huh.
I'm definitely on the hook for it.
You might have jumped in there back in the day.
Hey,
Yeah.
I might have. Hey, I've got Star Wars tattoos, so yeah, I could have been in on it.
Yeah.
But they were supposedly him and T and Doe were watching Star Trek and using that in their cult following stuff. So they would sit and watch Star Trek together, and then be like, "See," and that would
They would
give
sit
them.
and take notes during.
Well, they would take notes, but then they would be like, they would use it as a almost confirmation that what they were saying was correct because Star Trek was talking about whatever they were talking about. So then they would use that. So it's mental illness, 100%. But
Yeah.
Like the loss of reality, just the merging of.
yeah, the merging of reality and fiction at that point was all there for them.
Yeah. And so him calling himself Jesus is like,
It's like, whoop, you're done.
yeah, that was.
But that's where it becomes typical cult a little bit.
yeah,
That's where typical cult,
Like
you're going to
ultimate
have
control.
the guy that I'm God.
yeah.
So that's where it
Koresh,
does.
Jim Jones, all
Yeah.
of them,
All
the big
those
ones.
guys are.
Didn't Manson even proclaim that a little bit?
I'm not as familiar with the Manson stuff. I know the main story of it, but I'm not as. That's one we'll have to do.
He's
and I'll
another
have to learn a little.
victim, I think, of MK Ultra stuff.
I do
I
too.
think he's another victim of it.
Yeah,
Really?
I do too.
Like he just got his mind tripped out and he just
He
went
just-
way too
yeah.
far with it.
I think
they-
yeah.
Pushed him out into LA, was like, have fun.
You think that might have been a little bit of a test, a little
I mean, the
experiment?
dude got away with so much.
He did.
Yeah.
He did.
And he just kept getting out.
And then he got he got out because he didn't do anything. He just made other people do things. Yeah. So,
Quotations.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wasn't there.
That's the.
yeah, I wasn't doing an episode on that one.
Yeah, that'll be a good one.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's hard not to jump into a bunch of other cults when you're in this because there's just similarities and differences in all of these things. And
Yeah.
yeah.
I think Heaven's Gate was a little advanced for this time period too. I think they were lack of better words, but cutting edge for a cult. I think if it was now, I think they would have amassed more followers just because of how advanced it was.
Like
If
he
they
did use
wanted
the he used the internet early.
Like one of the
Yeah.
right off the bat.
yeah.
They were probably the first internet. Well, they were the first internet cult. I mean, they were at that point. You got to think in '97, the internet made sounds
Yeah.
to connect to it.
Yeah.
So not
And this is
everybody
before
was
that.
utilizing that, and
Mm-mm.
most people didn't have a computer in their house at that
No.
point in '97.
Yeah.
I don't think we had ours till early 2000s.
Did you go look at their website?
I've
up,
seen
still
it.
active.
It's still active. Yeah,
They got the sickest logo.
yeah, they do.
I love it.
Talking about the key with a G. in it?
It's the lo-fi kind of.
I'm looking at it right now. It's wild.
See,
It
even
looks-
their logos are like advanced for the time. I think
Maybe we should make our website look like this.
just crappy.
Just like it.
Well,
Like
it does
not-
look crappy anyway.
Just a black background, a JPEG slapped to the side of it.
that would be great.
Yeah, it's not bad though. But yeah, so they let's talk about what they made their cult members do.
Yeah.
Like this is where the weird stuff. Once they got
Well,
in,
before that, why like the time period we haven't brought up the comment yet. That's what set the
That's
whole
the-
thing in motion.
that's the ending. Spoiler
That's-
alert.
Well, I mean,
at
they
the
had to
end.
wait though. It was like a few years.
I think they latched on to the comment as far as
when things started to
when
go awry.
they started talking about the comet, they went, "Oh, that's it. That's the one."
Yeah,
So that was
much later.
They were talking about they were going to go up to space, but they didn't know how they were going to get there until that comet showed up. And then they went, "Oh, that's it."
From what I understand too, they didn't even think that was a possibility until there was a radio show talking about the comet as it's there, and somebody got a picture that was not a good picture, but he got a picture of the comet, and there was a little blip in the back of it, and he said that there was something behind the comet. So when Applewhite heard that, he took it and said, "Boom! There's our spaceship."
Yep.
Yeah.
So the Hale-Bopp comet didn't come in until
because it was
there.
Here.
It wasn't in the sky for a few years though.
Or
it was
weeks.
on.
I think it's still in the sky.
Yeah.
You can't see it, but I mean, it's somewhere in the sky.
Here we go.
There it is.
It's still out there somewhere.
It's still out there.
Just can't see it. Got him.
Who are you to say that there's not a UFO trail on that comet?
Right. What do you write next to it?
Yeah. What do you think you know?
Yeah, so the Hale-Bopp comet, that didn't come in until the end. That was the very, very end.
That was at the very end. But yeah, he was making them cut their hair.
Yeah, they all had
making them
boyish.
asexual.
Yeah, they all had boyish haircuts to make them asexual, so they wouldn't be attractive to another sex. That was abstinence, and sexuality was like very hard.
And they weren't drinking; they weren't doing drugs.
Well, and as far as similarities of cults go, that is something that is pretty consistent. Is others can't have sex in the cult most of the time.
The leader usually has.
The leader typically is the one that gets to have all the sex, but
this isn't fair. Yeah,
yeah, but
to quote Creed Bratton from The Office, you make more money as a cult leader, but you have more fun as a follower.
that's right. But you don't in this situation.
Yeah,
in this situation, you don't even get to have fun.
Yeah,
because
nobody has fun.
Even if you did go with this lady,
yeah,
she looks like your brother, so that's a problem.
So they all looked the same. They all, let's see, they changed their names.
Yep.
It was like 3 letters of their choosing. Sometimes it was their name. Sometimes it was a characteristic. I think one of them, the tallest one, was like Telodi. So it's like 3 letters, O, and then DY.
It was it seemed like to me they were trying to make them more android-like.
Yeah.
Which plays into their sci-fi weird, I think, a little bit. But they were, all got the same haircuts, all have weird names.
Yeah,
they had android.
They had an idea. They had an idea of what aliens were going to look like, so they were already practicing,
trying to get in that form.
Yeah, practicing getting into the alien form.
Where did they get their idea of what aliens look like?
I don't know.
Was that just from media and Star Trek?
I guess. I don't know. He just made it up.
The picture they have on their website looks like one of those aliens where like you get close to it and it looks like nice, and then it unhinges its jaw.
Oh,
and it just like swallows you whole. That's what it looks like.
But they were doing that. They were all eating the same foods, I think.
Yeah. I wonder if that was like one of the main appeals too of the uniformness of it and like the lack of sexual contact. Like it's not a cult because we're not having sex.
Yeah.
It's not a cult. We're not doing drugs.
Yeah.
It's not a cult.
We're not asking for money.
Yeah. It kind of gave an out a little bit to some people where they're like, no, this isn't what that is. I mean, cults do these typical things and we're not doing any of that.
Yeah.
And this guy gave them free will to do what they wanted. I mean, he would say, hey, this is my suggestion, but do what you want.
Yeah.
Which is, yet again, big difference in cult.
Yeah.
Cult,
not usually as open-ended as that.
No. In most cults, it's, no, you're going to do what I say.
Yeah.
And guess what?
If you snap out of it, you're going to wake up with an axe in your head.
But where the similarities are is people were giving away all of their possessions, all of those
leaving
things.
their families.
So once you left or once you were there, you didn't really have anything to go back to either. So it didn't leave you much of an out.
Yeah, he did let them. So he did try to control them a little bit, and he noticed it wasn't going good. So he, like I said, again, he wasn't a typical goal leader. He was smart and learned from his mistakes. He tried to keep them away, and then said, "No, give your mom a call on Mother's Day."
Yeah.
And then I think the following year he let them go home to their mom.
This was after Tia died, though.
Yeah.
So I wonder if T was more of the controlling before that. And then he had moments of clarity where he was like, oh, man, this is bad.
Yeah.
Maybe I do need to let them see their mom on.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And it worked. I mean, they still came back. Yeah.
These people were true believers. I will say that if somebody told me, "Hey, we're all gonna commit suicide, and you're gonna go to a spaceship," I'm gonna go, "No."
Nice try.
Almost had me.
We got a shift that Piggly Wiggly I got to go to.
Yeah. Not it.
And I get to cut my thing off.
Yeah, that's the other thing that we've alluded to a little bit, but not completely.
Yeah, so let's get into that. So the sexuality thing, they always tried to go against it. They even, I don't want to get too gross. My mom always gets onto me.
Just get there, man.
Right after the episode, she listens to it and says, "Joe, you should have talked about masturbation."
This is history. It's history.
It's part of life, I guess.
It is. So they any sexual arousal at all, they were really, really against. Even the uncontrolled arousal that happens. At
so
night.
against that, there was a log. You had to input information about your unwanted
log. About your own.
Oh no. I have an erection. Put it in the log.
Put it in the log. I love that it was called a log on top of it.
Anyway, I apologize, everybody.
Sorry. I was bullied into it.
Bullied into it. I was pressured into it.
Yeah. So that was a thing. So there was even one point too. I don't know if this was before. It had to have been before. One of the cult followers approached Applewhite and said he was becoming attracted to him. And Applewhite pushed him away. Said he was like one of the top guys in the cult, and he pretty much got demoted and said step back.
Huh.
So which is interesting.
I wonder if some of Applewhite's past played into some of this. Like he saw the harm that did in his other life before they were T and Doe and Heaven's Gate and all that. And I wonder if some of that was like, no, this actually did bad things. So
especially
because he was the first one.
Yeah.
I mean, Doe was the first one to get his balls cut off.
Get him what?
He went to Mexico to have it done.
No, there was
it was
first. There was
another guy that they tried to do it in house. And he got infected.
Failed.
Golly, that would be the worst.
Yeah, one of the members was a nurse, former nurse, and she said that
this is bad.
Yeah, she said she could do it.
I thought he was the first one to do it, though.
No, they did it to some of.
I thought it was a follow the leader situation.
Because he had a moment of clarity after the botched attempt.
That's right.
So he had the botched attempt, and the dude nearly died because his.
Oh no, my testicles!
They swelled up.
Well, he didn't have them anymore.
Yeah,
he didn't have them anymore.
So you're right. They said his scrotum got swollen.
Yeah.
Sorry, Mom. Again,
I said put it in the log.
You got the old scrot swelling going on.
My scrot is swelling to the size of a grapefruit.
The scrototy. My scrototy is getting swelled up.
Wonder if that became his nickname.
Oh no, 100%. I would have called him Scrodoty from now on. That's why I couldn't have been in this cult, because I would have made fun of everybody. Get some peas for your Scrodoty.
Yeah, so that happened, and then they said that he wanted he felt bad. Applewhite felt bad, and was like, "Take me to jail. This is too much." Sorry, dude.
I had to talk him off the ledge for letting this dude get his nuts cut off.
Wouldn't you?
Yeah.
How bad would you feel if you made some guys?
He walked in and was like, "No!"
Could you imagine? He's like, "Hey, Doe, could you come here and look at this? This look a little off. This look infected to you." And then he's just sitting there like, "Oh man, somebody just take me to jail." It's that bad that he automatically goes, "Somebody just needs to take me to jail because that was bad."
That's probably super accurate.
But then everybody else followed suit after that.
Yeah, a little later.
They found a guy to do it professionally.
Yeah.
In Mexico, though.
It was in Mexico.
They did go to Mexico. Somebody went to Mexico and had their balls cut off.
They had a piece of paper on the wall of the room with Mexico written on it, so it was like plausible deniability.
So if the government came and said, "Who did this to you?"
Okay, so
they went to
Mexico. In all the podcasts I've listened to about that, nobody said that. They said that they went to Mexico.
Yeah.
Okay.
I did hear that one.
All right.
They were thinking.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're thinking about getting your balls chopped off, that's the last thing I'm thinking of.
I'm not thinking about, hey, let's somebody write Mexico on this so we can say this room is Mexico.
Yeah. Can you imagine the lead up to that? You're just sitting on the...
Oh, God.
How do you know?
Just do it, man. Just do it. To get yourself all psyched up.
They're all holding it. Cody, calm down. This is for the cause.
Scrodoti healed. He's fine.
Scrodoti made it. You're fine, dude. And we just let old girl over here do it, and he's good.
So we're taking you to a doctor. He can do it just fine.
I mean, so the problem with that, and I did hear this, is even once you have your testicles removed, there is still some testosterone that lives inside of your body.
Easy when you're explaining this.
Yeah. So you can still have
I said easy.
male functions
Okay.
once you've had those removed. So
You
could you imagine waking
after
up
that.
right after?
Oh.
You know, it's been a couple weeks, you've healed up, you're still a little
Like, I'm
sore.
healed, I'm done.
Yeah.
Still a little sore, and you wake
groggy-eyed.
up and you're just like, dadgummit. after all of that, and we're still here? What in the world? That's the worst.
Yeah, I've never been there, so I don't know what happens.
Yeah, I mean, I don't either. That's just how your body functions, obviously, is it doesn't get rid of all of your testosterone. It does, the majority is 95%, but there's still that 5%, and obviously that's all you need. So,
Poor Scrodoti.
all screwed. I feel bad for
He
that
was the
guy.
guinea pig.
Guinea and pig,
Guinea
man.
pig. That's where they got there.
That's where they got it from.
Yeah, so aside from cutting your hair, not having a sexuality anymore, losing your manhood, one of the other things they did, and I think this was later, like in the early 90s, they married as a group dough. Like he allowed them to get wedding rings.
Ido.
Yeah, and then they had a ceremony, and
Yep.
they all got married.
Which is
Together.
not weird. That's not weird either.
Not weird
you
at
know?
all. Wait, think about it. You're 15, 20 years in. That's probably
as well go for
it. Like,
Yeah, at that point, you basically are married at that
Yeah.
point. I mean,
Yeah.
you're living as a group in campgrounds and floating from here to there.
Mm-hmm.
and
But then they end up with money
Yeah.
out of nowhere.
how did they get
There was a member. That
There
had
was a
bunch of
guy. He was
had
a
bunch of
real
money.
estate guy of some kind.
Yeah.
So he was a very wealthy real estate guy. I don't know if he owned real estate or he was a realtor. I don't remember what the deal was, but he came into the group, divorced his wife, and pretty much gave all of his money to the cult.
And they were able to get their last property, that mansion.
That's how they got into San Diego, California.
Yep.
With the
Yep.
mansion.
And they were starting to name all the rooms like something from Star Trek. You know,
Yeah.
they were naming all the rooms.
Yeah, the
like,
laundry room was the fabric laboratory, and
Yeah.
the kitchen was the Nutra factory or Nutra laboratory.
that would turn me off. So I guess
Yeah, that would be. You wouldn't even have to get rid of mine.
Yeah.
I'd be like the Nutra factory. Yeah, I'm done.
testosterone.
Yeah, all you're eating is soy.
Yeah.
You're just eating soy.
Just a bowl of
And
dirt.
me
that
tell
was,
you what you're
that was
not
part of
eating.
it. They took away the love of food. They would step out and they would eat stuff they didn't like.
Yeah.
Just as a practice.
Yeah.
So
they get this mansion, and it would suck to be the freaking landlord of that place. You could never rent it again.
Never again.
No.
I wonder if it's still there.
It's still there.
It is still
It's
there.
renovated, I think, but they wanted to get rid of some of the key parts of the house that you see in pictures of the bodies laying around.
Ugh.
So, but it's still there, still standing.
Interesting.
Man, wouldn't it suck though to be that guy? It's like, I just rented this out to these guys, and then all of them are.
All 39.
It's
of
like you
them.
guys couldn't just
39?
throw a like party or something.
I think they did.
Did they? Throw a
Yeah,
party?
they rocked it out. They did the release. You've seen the videos where they were talking about their
what is a
final
s-
testimony
Yeah.
video.
What
and
is
they
a
were all
Star
just,
Trek? What is a group of 39 Star Trek people partying to?
That's a dull party anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So
Turn
I
on
mean-
the jams. Beep, bop, meep, bop.
Nanu.
I'm doing the robot.
I mean, I think that they would sit and sing The Sound of Music, because if you have y'all seen the HBO documentary on it, they would sit there and Doe was a big Sound of Music guy. That's where they got.
That's where the
T and
names-
That's
yep.
where that came from. And he would sit and play the piano, and everybody would sit and sing songs from The Sound of Music, which is, golly, that's just so weird to me.
That's worse than this whole thing.
Yeah, it's worse to me to sit there with an old man.
Maybe that's why they just went ahead and
They went ahead and was like, you know what? Just give me
I'm
those.
taking a chance.
Yeah,
It's
give me
worth this.
Where's the sleeping medicine?
Yeah. Where's the vodka?
Yeah. Bring me the sleeping medicine vodka.
Stop looking at me. Go blink your eyes.
So yeah, let's go ahead and go
Yeah,
there.
we'll
So
get into that part.
Hellbop comic comes in. It's a big deal. Like it only comes around every couple thousand years.
Bigger deal than I thought it was till I looked it up and was like, it was crazy.
Yeah.
The media coverage on it was like this once in a lifetime thing.
Oh yeah, it's like every 2,000 years it would be back. So it was kind of a big deal. I was alive in the 90s, but I don't remember. I even asked my parents. They didn't. It was a thing, but kind of like an eclipse now. It's kind of cool, and then you just move on.
One thing that we didn't talk about with the money, these guys took a article out in like the New York Times and huge papers. They
tried to recruit late
last minute,
which is weird because after they kicked all these people out, they were like, "Ooh, no, we need to bring people in." So they spent like $30,000 on these ads in huge newspapers.
Yeah,
and I think they gained some followers from that, but
it was negligible.
It was negligible. Yeah, the return on
About
investment
like
was pretty slim.
About like our listener count.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
Swipe.
if y'all got $30,000 though, we can bump this up.
Yeah.
So if anybody wants to contribute, that'd be great. But they had like a cable access show, and you
Beyond
can still
Human.
you can still find episodes of that on YouTube. So
Really?
anybody who wants a little more information on how weird these guys are, go watch Beyond Human. I think that's
Yeah, and their website too's got their
All
book,
their information.
transcripts and books and chapters and it's a
And and when I'm reading all that stuff, I understood why people were falling for it. It's so well. How should I say it?
put together.
In that time period, it makes sense. Now maybe not so much, but back then, if you're in the '90s reading that, like you're just some dude in your house
looking for religion,
looking for something.
Yeah.
It makes sense because like everything in there, since they merged Christianity it so well, it if you're looking for something, it makes sense.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, and I think that's what every cult has something to do with. I mean, you've got just enough of something of truth in it that makes people attached to it, and then you really bring in the weird, but you've committed
Cranking
at
it
that
up.
point.
Yeah.
You've committed at that point.
So the
But go ahead.
yeah, so the comic comes by. They think that there's something hiding behind it, and they said this is it. We're transcending. We're getting rid.
This is what we've been going for since the 70s, guys. It's here.
We're getting rid of these vehicles, as they call them, and they're making their next steps. So they party, they do their little exit videos. It was vodka and some dark web drug.
It was
that
luminol.
luminol, and then that kind of knocks them out. And then I think somebody had to be there to suffocate them.
No, put bags on their heads.
They just put bags on their heads to make sure they
suffocate
were.
Yeah.
But they had a last meal. Is that the party you're talking about?
Yeah.
So they went to Marie Callender's.
Yeah.
They all ordered the exact same food.
In their outfits.
Iced tea.
In their outfits with a
In the outfits.
In their
Star Wars
outfits.
patch and everything.
Star Wars patch, had all matching shoes, which those Nikes were on clearance is why they bought them.
Yeah.
But-
Brand
so
spanking new, too.
Brand spanking new.
Right out of the box.
It actually, Nike quit making those shoes after that. Yeah, Nike quit making them. But they all had the exact same meal. They all had iced tea, salads with vinaigrette of something, a chicken pot pie, which is like the worst. Like, don't give me that for my last meal. A Marie Callender's chicken pot pie.
Wait, was it a restaurant?
Yeah, obviously it was.
Marie Callender's was a restaurant?
It was a restaurant.
Salutations, waiter. I would like one chicken pot pie.
And then a cheesecake with blueberries on the top. They all ate the same thing.
Okay.
They interviewed the waitress afterwards, and she was like,
was
they
kinda
were very
weird.
nice. But look, if this is my last meal, we can go get a credit card and we can spend whatever we want.
Yeah.
Sure. Who's going to...
Maybe they were just sticking
Who's
out
going to
to
call in that day?
Yeah.
They were following through with eating sucky food, I guess.
Yeah.
That's the worst, though. Like, it's the last one.
Yeah.
I mean, other than the applesauce they were about to have, but yeah.
Yeah.
And then the next day, I think after that, they filmed their video. They, going up.
Yeah.
Listening
See
to
y'all
it
later.
was like sad.
It
Yeah.
was.
It
I
felt
mean, the whole
so
thing
sad.
kind of is.
It's like
sad.
just listening
Yeah.
to sick people like be happy about ending
committing
it.
suicide.
Being wrong. Yeah.
Yeah.
And some of them like they were you could tell how grief struck they were, like they weren't 100% yet. Some people were like 100%.
Some of them, were like...
Other ones were like
tickled to
they
death.
were still like, I'm this far. This is it.
Yeah.
Golly, that's horrible. Could you imagine just that frame of mind of just well, I'm this far in it.
Might as well go for the
Might as well go for it, but you're not 100% sure.
Yeah.
You've
But the
got
people
that
around
one
you,
little
the
piece.
people around you are so sure that like it almost gives you confidence
Yeah.
that they're like
But-
you look around, they're happy and smiling that they're going to transcend, and it
They
just makes you
win
feel
in-
better.
And then they went in stages. So like there was the first group.
Yeah, it was like 3 days.
It was over. It was over a couple of days period of time.
Yeah.
The first group went. Then Applewhite was in the second group, which is atypical of a cult.
Yeah.
Normally the cult leader is the last one to go, or he
Yeah.
don't at all.
Yeah.
So he went in the second group. He was like, no. So I actually think this
I
dude
would
might
say-
have believed what he was saying.
I mean, he had to either nut up or shut up, and he didn't have one of those.
Stop it.
Ah,
He was saving
bazinga! There it is.
He was saving that one. That was a good one.
You saw that one coming.
Can't say that. Only the
But-
Shrouded Reality podcast.
That's right.
can
Middle
make-
school humor reigns supreme.
Sorry,
here.
Joey's mom.
Yes. I'm going to get a call Monday afternoon when this show releases. Sorry again, Mom. So they did the deed. Was it a cult member that called it in to
It was
the
an
police?
ex-member.
An ex-member?
ex-member.
They
Remember.
had sent a letter to an ex-member that they had said that they had committed suicide and they needed someone to report it to the authorities. Well, they wanted him to videotape the whole thing, then do it.
Okay.
So that's where most of our footage comes from this crime scene is from this guy.
So he walked around, videoed
Walked around, videoed it,
it. Okay.
and
Then called it in
then called
afterwards.
in, yeah.
Yeah. And didn't they also send stuff to the media package? Media packages out
Probably.
I want to say that
explaining
that's right.
what they did.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, because they seemed real worried about what the world was going to
Think of them.
say of it and think of them.
Mhm.
I mean, at that point, you're dead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What does it matter?
'Cause they're
You're on a cool spaceship.
yeah, they're space.
Behind a comet.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, but there was also people that were former members that they found days later, weeks later, had done the same thing.
Really?
So,
They
yeah,
tried
there
to
was-
jump on.
Yeah, they were trying to
Hop
jump
on.
on too because
Wow.
didn't they say something about, hey, there's still time, you guys need to do it too, and people were
Yeah.
jumping on the
Yikes.
ship. Yeah, with them.
I
So
didn't hear that.
ex-members were jumping on doing the exact same thing.
What was the body count on that?
I don't know. It wasn't huge, but there were people that were ex-members or people that had, kind of dipped out
Yeah.
for a period of time, and they're like, "Oh, wait, that is it," and they would jump on, and they committed suicide after that.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a wild.
I think the reason Heaven's Gate's so prolific is just how opposite they are of everything else.
Yeah.
And how little they had to do to keep control.
Yeah.
There was no beatings.
Mm-mm.
No one.
No,
Nothing
just like
forced.
forced work type stuff. Nothing. None of that was really there.
Mm-mm.
No, there was some weird stuff that they did, like T and Doe would make people go sit outside and wait for UFOs and
Yeah.
don't
Look at
come
the
back
sky.
in.
Yeah.
Don't come back in until we tell you or until you see it,
Yeah.
basically. Which that would be a very long time that you're sitting outside. But and there were some of those like tests, I would say, that they did. But that was earlier in the cult when T was there.
There was no kid stuff.
Once it was
involved.
just Doe,
Yeah.
I actually think that he had moments of clarity
Yeah.
where he actually felt bad about this situation.
Yeah.
I actually think that he looked at it a couple of times and went, "Ooh, what have I done?"
Yeah.
And then
Too deep.
once,
Like the old Scrodoti incident.
yeah, I mean, Scrodoti, he's all swelled up and he's over here like, "Just take me to jail. This is
Yeah.
bad." You know?
So I wonder if any of them had, because you hear alien stories all the time.
Yeah.
Spaceship stories all the time, UFO stories. Like, I wonder if any of them had that type of experience previously, and that kind of tied them to it. Like,
It's possible.
you know what
Yeah,
I mean?
Sure.
Like, I would be more apt to believe there's UFOs if I seen a UFO
Sure.
or thought I seen a UFO,
And then you got this guy who's loosely talking about what you experienced and
Yeah.
tying it into escaping Earth.
making it all make
And
sense.
yeah, making
Yeah.
it make sense some
Yeah.
kind of way.
Interesting.
And I
It
think
makes-
he and also with Applewhite, I think he was able to sell it so good because he believed it himself. You know, most cult leaders like are mostly liars. They don't believe what they're teaching,
Yeah.
and just using it for power.
Yeah.
I think he actually believed it, so he's able to sell it so well
Mhm.
and get it across.
I think that if he didn't believe it, he wouldn't have went on that second run.
Yeah.
If he didn't believe it, Applewhite would be probably in jail somewhere at this point,
Mm-hmm.
but he might still be alive. I don't know how old he was. He was a pretty old guy at that point. But, I mean, he wouldn't have killed himself if he didn't believe it. I think he wanted to get back to T,
Yeah.
and I think he actually believed that that was the way to do that.
Interesting.
It's just a sad story all around.
It really is. I mean,
Yeah, we joke.
they
we
they
laugh,
do
but-
some they did some crazy stuff and it was weird, but in the end, I think that mental illness probably contributed to a lot of this.
Mm-hmm.
And you had people that were just bent
Lone.
in that direction enough
Lonely.
to believe it and lonely. And these were nerds. I mean, no doubt. These were nerdy people that probably, because in the 80s, computers and stuff, that wasn't the big thing.
Mm-mm.
You know, you were the weird kid if you were
Yeah.
interested in
Yeah.
computers at that point.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think that there's a sadness to this too, of just
It's like there may be someone in our lives right now who would have fell for that back
Sure.
then.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah.
So,
And then Jesus said himself, Matthew 24, Jesus answered to him, said, "Take heed that no man deceive you, for many shall come in my name, saying, I am Christ, and shall deceive many."
Yeah.
So Jesus
And
called
that's-
it, said this is going to happen. People's going to hear it. And
that's going to be happening today too. And I think that there's other examples of that that's going on right now.
hell yeah.
Um,
I wonder why it's not as prevalent.
Time,
Or
BS.
is
Tom,
it, or is
time
it
will
some,
tell.
like something bad's got to happen. Like we wouldn't hear about any of these.
I think it exists because, I mean, I've heard of certain things where I go, ooh, that smells like a cult.
Yeah.
You know, me and you've run into a couple where we've looked at it and went, ugh, I don't know about that.
Yeah.
That's one we need to, the one that we're,
Yeah.
that me and you were looking at, we need to look into that one too.
That's one of those. I think something bad's going to happen.
I'm
soon.
afraid of that one.
Yeah.
They're just gonna find bodies stacked up somewhere or attack or
Yeah. Or
There's
like
something,
the Mormon cults that we talked about
Okay.
with the kids. and
there is a
stuff.
compound somewhere in our area
Mm-hmm.
where they worship Mary.
Oh yeah, that one. Yeah.
And-
When you do some Alex Jones type investigation, go with the camera and just
I've had conversations with them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This isn't the one that almost got me, but
Okay, this is a
I've
different one.
talked to
Yeah.
two of their members about business stuff.
gotcha.
Yeah, so it's you're out. They're out there, and
They still exist. So just be careful, you know, have discernment.
Step back.
If a guy's telling you you're going to jump on a spaceship if you
Yeah.
commit suicide, probably look at it and go, nah,
yeah.
not a good idea.
Another big red flag too is when people use single verses from the Bible
Yeah.
Yeah.
and say, "See, this is what I'm talking about." But if you read the whole chapter or the whole book, it's like
that context is
context is
critical.
key, super key.
Mhm.
The one right now, the big one now that it's kind of ticking me off is the Kamala Harris one. You've seen the meme. Have you seen it?
I don't think I have, no.
They're quoting Revelations where the harlot comes in purple and they show a
Yeah,
picture of
okay, I
her in
have
a
seen
purple
that.
shirt
She
or
was wearing-
suit and like, oh, this is a lady from God,
It's like I'm sure Clinton wore a purple suit too. It's like
Yeah.
the context.
Just because some lady is wearing purple does not mean that she is the
And I
the
went,
whore of Babylon.
I went and read the whole thing. Yeah, went and read the whole verse, and it's not even close to what they're talking about.
That's a whole other topic, but
Easy.
yeah.
We already got the CIA
Yeah.
coming after us, so we don't need the Secret Service.
yeah.
But
Mm.
they could jokes holding back Secret Service jokes.
Yep.
Anyway, but
Anyway,
let's wrap this up before we get ourselves in more trouble with more people than my mom.
Yep.
that's
Sorry, Joey's mom.
So for Stodody, Canody, and Jadody, and Redody, the podcast dog,
We shall depart.
we shall depart from this episode. Check out our social media. Go to our webpage, the best place to find it, shroudedrealities.com. It's got links to everything. Hopefully have some merch up soon. Maybe we'll see. We're working on it. Stuff's
Yeah.
complicated. It's
It
hard.
is. Yeah, we're learning all kinds of things through this
we're-
process.
That's the fun part, though.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, I enjoy it. But yeah, we appreciate y'all for listening. Sorry if we offended you. Check us out on the next one.
I'm going to go get Scrododius peas.
That's right. Keep your testicles.
Thanks, guys.
So I use